Hello again, friends. We are going to be learning about monoprinting today. For this lesson, we are going to be using the template that we were working on the past few art times. We're going to use this as a stamp to make our radial design on our background paper. So monoprint is a word that basically just means one copy. A monoprint is one copy. Mono means one, print means to copy. So to start today, we will get our background paper that we painted the last time, and then we will also get our plate. To begin, we are going to use a sponge with a little bit of water, and we are going to dampen the first area where we're going to do our print. So I don't want my paper to be super wet. I just want it to be a little bit damp. So I'm going to take my sponge and I'm just going to start up here, pressing it down in this first square. Okay, I'll put my sponge back in here, and while this is drying just a little bit, we are going to take our plate and a black marker. I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't get it on here. And we're going to begin coloring on our plate. And we don't need it to be fully colored in or colored in perfectly. We just want to get a little bit of our marker ink on all of our plate. So I'm going to make sure that I get all the way to the edge, just like this. All the way to the edge. Anything that is left white will not show up on our print. So we just want to make sure that everything is covered. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take my printing plate here. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to find that arrow that we drew. Remember, this arrow goes to the center of our circle. So I'm going to take that arrow and I'm going to make sure that it's going to the center of my circle here, and I'm going to print it on the lines. You can kind of see the folds where you folded it. So there's a fold line here and a fold line here. And I'm just going to line up those edges. And I'm going to press it down. And very carefully, I'm going to peel it back off. It didn't work quite as well as I'd hoped. Let's try it again. So the thing about monoprinting is that we can't go back over it a second time, because you're not going to be able to get your lines to line up perfectly. So if you print on this area a second time, it is going to look kind of like a jumbled mess. I'm wondering, maybe my paper was not quite wet enough. So I am going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and color on this first. I'm going to wait to put my water on my paper until I'm ready to print. Now I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to get my paper wet. Oops, rubbing is not a good idea. Just dampen it by pressing up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. When I rubbed, it actually made my paints kind of blend in together, which I don't want to make a mess of my rainbow in the background either. So I'm going to flip it, put my arrow to the center, press it down, and this time I'm going to actually make sure I press it really hard. Hopefully That will help make my print stand out more. Oh yes, that's much better that time. So you can see your design, your radial design is going to basically go all the way around in your circle here. So this line connects to this line. This line connects to that line. So again, I'm going to do my next one. So I'm going to take my marker, color my whole plate. To the edges. I'm going to take my wet sponge and move on to my next. I'm going to put my water on my paper, up and down like a stamp, not rubbing. Stamp, flip it over. Need to make sure that my arrow is pointing in the right direction again. So each time I'm turning it so that it's pointing to the center. Stick it down and rub it hard, making sure that it's all pressed down. See, peel it off. There we go. Now we've got our nice prints happening. So for my last time here, coloring in my printing plate. Okey-dokey. Going to take my wet sponge, gonna get my paper wet. Okay. I'm gonna take my printing plate, flip it over. Oops. Turn it so that my arrow is facing the right direction. Stick it down. Rub it hard. There we go. So now we have our print, a radial design, and as you can see, our design is going around in circle. Pretty cool. Okay guys, so I decided that I am going to try and stamp on this space again. I'm hoping that because there's only little bits of this that showed up that maybe it will work out, and if it doesn't, it will be fine. At least then you'll get to see what happens if you double stamp in the same area. So I'm going to go ahead and re-wet my paper, which trying not, you can see from my sponge that my black marker is coming off, so I don't want to smear that around. I just want to wet my paper enough to make it work. Hopefully, we'll cross our fingers and see what happens. So, we're going to flip it over, again, making sure that our arrow is pointing to the center. Cross our fingers and hope for some good luck here. So press it down, rub hard. I think I just did not get my paper wet enough that first time, which is why my print didn't take. But hopefully this time will be a little bit better. Let's see. If I peel it off, ta-da! So you can kind of see where my design is messed up a little bit because I printed 2 times, so it's not exactly right, but I think it does look better. So now you can at least get the visual of how your design, your radial design, goes in a circle around and around and around. Now, if you were to put your arrow in the wrong direction, then your design is going to be turned. So that's an important thing to keep in mind as well, making sure that that arrow goes to the center of your paper each time.